watching Yana TV. And today we have a very special episode with Karen Leong, who is an entrepreneur and influence expert and mom, wife, and daughter. So Karen, thank you so much for being with us here today. It's a pleasure.
Yes, and it's truly a pleasure to be here.
And I know that you are really passionate about empowering women. This is a kind of like a bottom line for your entire work. Right? So could you tell me a bit more what actually drives you and what is your motivation behind doing this work?
You know, one picture that is really clear in my mind was, when I was running a leadership program for an international bank. And it was a group of about 25 hand-picked high potential women leaders. And I asked all the women, because it was the beginning of a one-year program, to draw the ideal managing director of the bank.
Okay.
10 minutes later, they all had finished their drawings and the flip charts were all around the room. And we had two realizations. The first realization is that bankers can draw.
Yes, a good one.
Yes, other things besides their salary. And the second thing was that every single lady drew a man as their ideal
boss,
managing director.
Yeah.
And at a point of time, I asked the women, so what compelled all of you to draw a man as the ideal CEO? And there was silence. And there was a collective realization. And that's when I remembered and I shared with them that, everything in the world, according to ancient wisdom, according to the Bhagavad Gita, is created twice. First in the mind, and then on ground. That until you can see yourself as the CEO, it's not going to happen. But when you can see it, when your heart feels it, then it will become a reality. So that's the incredible thing, that everything in the world is created twice. First in the mind. That's so the
powerful. It is. And it's also, I know, like in our days, still, even though there's a lot of work done in all kind of countries around the world to empower women and to help them to build, first of all, self-esteem, right? Because with you say, if it's first built in your mind, it has a lot to do with self-esteem.
Right.
Like if I don't believe I can't even think I can.
That's
right. So then, what could, for women who maybe don't think they can, is there, like in your experience, what would be maybe an easier way for them to understand that they're like an absolutely gorgeous, talented creatures who can achieve and be anything they want? Is there like an easier way to increase your self-confidence if you're a woman?
That's a really good question.
Yes.
Because you talked about how powerful our thoughts are. And very often it's our thoughts that drive our actions. And sometimes when we don't feel particularly confident whether we can actually achieve something, just like when I first started my business, so I had a really big vision, but there was always a niggling doubt, because my vision for our company was we wanted to be the Apple of the learning and development industry. Help some of the biggest names and impact thousands of people, and also make learning and development really simple and transform the entire industry. But there was always this doubt that, can I actually pull it off?
As a woman, you mean?
Especially because I was a woman. And sometimes when you don't feel particularly positive in your thinking, sometimes I think the best way is that just as thoughts drive action, action can also drive thoughts.
I see.
That I just said, I am just going to do it. I'm just going to go ahead do it regardless of whether I feel confident or not. Which reminds me of one of the biggest things that I hold dear to my heart is to dream big and act small. That have a really big dream. But often when the dream is so big, we feel stressed.
Yes, and they're intimidated by the dream.
We are intimidated by our own dream, and what do? We put it off until we are intelligent enough, resourceful enough, strong enough, then we will go for our dream. So what I'm going to challenge people is, dream big, but your action should be really small. Start acting on that dream just a little bit today, and just do it every day, and you'll be just amazed at how much closer you be towards your dream.
That's such a fantastic tip. I mean, this is I can absolutely agree with that. That it's so important to have this vision for what you want to do in life and where you want to be. At the same time, this vision should never allow you to kind of paralyze yourself in your thought process. So you're so afraid how big it is, so you can't move forward. So you just kind of take the first step, and then the second step, and then the third step, and you're like 3,000 steps, This is how I climbed Kilimanjaro, by the way, last year.
That's
right?
incredible.
It's one of the experience, it's exactly the same. Like I remember, like you stay at the base camp, and then you look at the top, and you go, no way I ever gonna get there in one piece, you know? And then you get the guide, and they teach you how to breathe and how to walk. And I remember that I learned like 2 words, actually no, 1 word. They say pole.
Yes.
It's slow,
Right.
And then you walk, and they kind of show you very short steps that you should be taking, and you go at a really slow pace, and you start like that. And the first few days, everybody, especially guys actually, go, you must be kidding me. We're gonna walk like that now for 7 days. And then some way, because you go high the altitude, right? Maybe some way on the 5th days, the same guys go, hey, can we go slower, please? It's just too fast.
Yes, that's
but
right.
it's the same pace, right?
That's a very powerful
So
sharing.
yeah, but it's eventually got actually our entire team to the top of Kilimanjaro.
Wow.
So that's
Yes.
it just came to my mind as you were talking.
It's like what Lao Tzu says, like a journey of 1,000 miles begin with a single step.
Exactly.
And that is all that is required.
Yeah, exactly. But then now also we women now these days, right? Maybe we want to also move a bit away from traditional roles. Like in a traditional role, we wanted to have husbands and children, and maybe be more like a household boss, right? Now we still want to be the boss at home,
Yes.
and at the same time we want to be the boss at work. And yet there's the work-life balance. Like in your experience, now you became a mom recently, right? You have like a really, really small baby. How old is your baby?
He's about 2.5 months.
2.5 months. I mean, you're fully back to work, right? And first of all, you look gorgeous. I don't know how you do that after giving a birth, so quickly. So now having a small child at home, having a husband, and running your own business. So what are the common challenges that you have been facing, and how have you been dealing with them?
You talked about work-life balance,
Yes.
and it's true that very often we see a seesaw, work on one side and life on one side. And that picture is actually very, very wrong, and I'm going to challenge that.
Okay,
Because
please do.
Because very often we look at work versus the rest of our life. And it brings to mind that if I were to look at my life consists of so many things, whether it's my health, my family, my personal growth, me giving back to the community, money, business. So if I look at my life, it's actually made up of a lot more components than just work. So I'm just going to say, it's important to banish the seesaw.
Okay. So what is then a more empowering mindset around it?
It's actually to start seeing how we could live our life holistically. And for me, the way I do it is that I blend, my work with my life.
Yes.
And
you mean you bring your 2.5 months old baby to your trainings and you say, hey, here's my son.
in fact, one of the biggest things I'm going to share with you, we did a training for one of Singapore's largest telecommunications company. We trained the entire retail team, all the way from the people in the front line to the leadership level. And during this 1.5-year project, there were quite a lot of the people in retail who shared with me that they didn't, they actually segregate their work and their life. And there was a particular lady who confided that she didn't particularly like her work, but she made up for it because, on her days off, she would be a different person and really live, in the weekends and the holidays. So that is what you call, some people, they balance work with leading their real lives, during their holidays, during weekends.
So I guess, it depends also what kind of business you're in, right? So let's say if you're an entrepreneur and it's your own business, it's maybe a bit easier to bring your life into your business, more flexible hours,
Right.
you can kind of overlap it. But then if you work for somebody, that probably happened in that situation, right? If you have a boss and you work in a bigger company, you might not always be very passionate about your work, but then if you're like living a super passionate life outside of the work, it creates the balance. This is
That's
great.
what she thought. So now I wanted to share just a quick tip for people is that you cannot balance work that doesn't give you joy with life. So, by finding distractions elsewhere. Because you think about it, how many hours do we work a day? I don't know, many people work at least 8, 10 more. And the thing is, we spend about 80% of our waking hours working. So if we don't enjoy our work, what happens is what we do becomes who we are. You can't run away from it.
So you become a miserable person.
So
eventually.
So if 80% of the time at work you're not happy, it's going to impact who you are in your life completely. So I think the most important thing is that you really need to find joy in whatever that you're doing, because that is going to make you who you are.
That's so powerful. And thank you, Karen. And the final question for today would be, given that we're talking about women and empowering women, I really would like to know, what is the best lesson you have learned from your mom? I make her watch that.
It's a really good reminder because my mom is one of my role models.
Okay.
And my mom, 25 years ago, she was a shy homemaker. And she took on the role of being an insurance agent in order to supplement the family income. And I've never forgotten what she shared with me, that when she approached, friends and some family to sell insurance, most of the people told her, come back if you can survive after 1 year.
Okay.
And so my mom just was in her mind, she says, I'm just going to last a year. And you know what? That kept her going, and now she has lasted more than 25 years in the insurance business. So it's a really good reminder that very often just focus on, that shorter goal, that first step, and you'll be amazed that once you pass that, that's usually the most difficult step, that first baby step. And once you do that, you are going to be well on your way towards the journey of success.
Thank you so much, Karen. It was a pleasure. And that was Karen Leong on Yana TV, sharing with us her nuggets of wisdom and her journey as a woman in the world of business and the world of the traditional female life, where we do want to have family and children, and we want to find a way how we can balance all of that. So do adopt the mindset, which is fantastic, that you need to live your life when everything is integrated and you view yourself as a holistic person. And in the meantime, if you do like this video, make sure you share it with the friends. We always highly appreciate it. Join our Yana TV community, and I talk to you next week.
Culture is not a static thing. It's not something that's unchanging. We don't, Sudanese culture is not the same 500 years ago as it is today. So giving ourselves the room to realize culture can change. And we are the people that change culture. And our children are going to be the people, your children are going to be the people that change culture. And supporting that change wholeheartedly, I think is incredibly important. And I'm fortunate that my parents have supported me, that we've had to discuss it and debate it and argue it. But at the end of the day, they understand that, and they believe and they trust in my ability to hold true to the values that they taught me.